Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of my Lost Weapons series. Today I am going to be going over some weapons that could be found in Season of the Deep, and this time are entirely focusable. Going to the helm, I'm going to show you where you can focus these and, how much it costs and what you must do to acquire them. Since they are Season of the Deep, we are going to make our way over here and we will go to the interact screen with the sonar station and go into focusing. The 4 weapons that I am going to talk about and tell you what roles I think are good and why these weapons are, viable, in their weapon class are going to be as follows. Spare rations, bug out bag, outlast, and last man standing are, I think, 4 weapons that are viable in many different situations for the most part. Now, looking at these weapons, we are going to start with last man standing. This is an aggressive frame shotgun that is solar, obviously, in the energy slot of our Guardian. The role that I have and honestly love, that I think is a very good role, is not threat detector, but opening shot in the first column and then rampage in the second. The reason I think that this shotgun is good is solely because of this role. I think that you could have some other fun roles like pugilist with swashbuckler, or even subsistence and one for all, due to the fact that you get increased rate of fire when you get kills. And it could make it somewhat of a fun, goofy PvE build that way. But primarily, I think that this weapon, it should be used for PvP. And while we have some other aggressives in slot that compete with it, the fact that this one has opening shot in the first column and then a damage perk that gives 10%, which for a shotgun, it's pretty good. And I also have on my roll, I have Accurize to get that increased range on top of obviously opening shots. You're sitting at 61 range, which is quite substantial. I think that, Found Verdict can get around here. Obviously, Adept Found Verdict, I think, gets a little bit more, but that's obviously a lot harder to farm for and get the roll that you want. And then I also have Full Choke, which, being an aggressive, it doesn't have the best of handling. But let's go take a look here at my in-game roll. And as you guys can see, I've used it in Crucible a little bit. You get Rampage, opening, Accurized in this. Unfortunately, I do have a stability roll, which does help with flinch a little bit. And you also, I think Disaster Plan goes really, really well with this weapon because it increases the range even more after picking up ammo. And it also gives you 15% flinch resist, which is quite a lot, to be honest with you, with a gun like this where your base stability is low, thus you're going to be flinched a bit easier being an aggressive frame. But I've found that the range on this thing is a little bit more forgiving just because of how much range you get on it and because you get a 10% bonus on it. So going back to here, you could also go, if you're a hip fire enthusiast, hip fire grip, because obviously you get a lot decreased accuracy cone size. To me, I think shotguns whiff a bit too much when you fire from the hip, unless you have hip fire grip. But overall, this weapon is very, very solid. And you can obviously, with the time to kill with a 10%er on it, you still have to hit with 9 pellets, but it gives it a little bit more range because the fall off for damage is, is 5.5 meters, which is it's quite a bit for a shotgun. Most shotguns you have are good up until like 4 meters. And even at that point, like if you have any of your pellets whiff or whatever else, or they have like a potato connection where you don't hit them with enough, they're usually going to get the better of you and get the kill on you in terms of shotguns. But this shotgun, I love it. I think it's, really good. You put quick access sling on it and, have at it, because obviously the handling isn't very good on it. It's the only weakness to it. But yeah, quick access sling is what you want. And if you could, you know what? Yeah, go with 10 more. And then you're looking at almost 6 meters you can hit with this thing, you know? And like I said, I mean, the origin trait on this, as you can see here, it's 15 more range. There's no way, even if I click this, there's no way of activating the perk, but 15 more range after that. I think it's the most in slot. Obviously, there's a good amount of precursors with it. You would have to have the range masterwork. But yeah, quite a bit of range on this bad boy. And I think it's a really aesthetically cool gun. Good sight as well. Just a couple of metal bars, so you're not getting flooded like with your Astral Horizon or something with a really big, bulky sight. And that's all I'll say about this gun, is I think it can be an absolute PvP menace if you are good with shotguns. Moving on, we're going to go to the next weapon that doesn't need much explanation, but I'll go over it anyway. But we have spare rations. And looking at this gun overall, I think that you obviously want, the most range out of it, so you get the most stickiness, because the aim assist is already really high. If you're a really good hand cannon user, you're going to do slide shot, so you don't have to actually reload it yourself, because that's the one thing to me that lacks about the gun, is that the reload speed and the animation for it is just a bit too long, to be honest. And then you're going to do opening shot for that crispy first shot where you have 100 aim assist, nearly max range, and you don't even need a barrel that gives you range. If you really want that 100 crispy range, just go for hammer forged, which I think is what I have on my roll here. Looking at this, I guess, yeah, I have ricochet hammer forged with slide shot and opening. Sadly, I think disaster plan, you're only going to get a little bit more flinch resistance, but obviously the range you get from this isn't really going to matter too much. And overall, just a kind of, demon of a gun to use. I think that if you were really good and you don't need opening shot on this, you wouldn't go with any of these other perks. You would go with Vorpal. And my reasoning behind this is, in PvP, you're going to get a 40 to 50% damage increase depending on the super being used, because roaming supers, I believe, you get up to 50, and then the stationary ones, it's only 40 or something like that, because roaming is obviously a bit more lethal. So if you're an absolutely cracked god gamer, you'll run Vorpal on this for that one round in trials or something like that, where they're going to pop a roaming super, and maybe your guys' strategy, you're going to try to bake the guy real quick. But overall, in your general play, I think that you're going to run opening shot, because you're going to have that fat aim assist. The accuracy cone growth is going to be its smallest, and you're going to be able to slide around the corner, and 90% of the time you're going to get that first shot on somebody, which if you get that with a 140 and you're good at hitting your shots, not many people are going to compete with you. But moving on to our next weapon, and a weapon that is actually a personal favorite of mine, not only for PvP, but also PvE from this season, that I grew to love, even though it is an unpopular 900 adaptive frame, is Bug Out Bag. Bug Out Bag, to me, has both PvP viability as well as PvE. I have a PvE role where I've got subsistence incandescent. Now people will probably be like, why wouldn't you just use Callus Mini Tool or something like that? Well, Callus Mini Tool doesn't have subsistence. It doesn't have subsistence. And this gun has a substantial amount in the mag. Subsistence obviously gives a percentage of the mag in here. And while you're after that first kill, I feel like you're really melting. You can kill a group of enemies really easily this way. And I have this role. The second role that I have might surprise you guys a little bit, but I have Gut Shot Collective for my PvP role. Gut Shot is 10% increased damage. While you do get a little bit less decreased crit damage, I think that this is kind of a remedy perk for what adaptives are kind of bad at. They are bad because they don't quite do as much crit wise, I think, but their body, I think they do a little bit better than the other 900 RPM lightweight SMGs, but their body shot is what suffers them, to be honest with you. And Gut Shot, I have one of these on here. It's Gut Shot Collective Action, and I've gotten quite a few Crucible opponents defeated with it. This ultimately brings it more in line to other 900 SMGs to me, where it is more forgiving. It's kind of like the target lock of this gun, because when you're firing this many bullets and it's 10%, you're not really worried too much about hitting the head the whole time. And usually my preferred method for when I use this is I'll be sliding a corner and hitting someone in the body while I'm ADSing, and then I go to the head at the end of the kill, and it is a pretty effective way to kill. And while collective action isn't necessarily the easiest perk to proc in PvP, and it is only a 10%, buff in PvP, I think it, just does just fine, where you can combo this with your abilities and that sort of thing. But overall, this I think is a very fun weapon, and it's kind of earned a spot to me where it's got multifaceted roles that you can use. And if you're a swashbuckler person, maybe that could be a little bit better of a perk, where your time to kill is pretty low. If you're landing a melee kill, you could run Gut Shot. With this. And even looking at this, if you take away swashbuckler or something like that, and you look at this and you look at the body shot TTK, you still have a very forgiving, where if you were to take this off, you have to hit a couple more bullets, and overall this makes it a little bit above just a second for just body shots, but a very consistent. If you're hitting only a few here, if you're looking at the tier 10 to tier 9, yeah, it's 12, but pretty forgiving in my opinion, where it's like you just drag this up to the head when you're sliding around a corner. And many people think that Gut Shot, is really bad, but it actually doesn't affect your stickiness. It has no effect on your magnetism and reticle stickiness on somebody, which I've had people say that, like, oh, well, it gets rid of, and it's harder to stay on a person. But when you're point blank on somebody with an SMG, to me, with the way that SMGs are right now, you're going to stick to them. But moving on to the last weapon that we have here, we have Outlast, a rapid fire solar weapon that I think, to me, it excels in PvP. I've used this quite a bit. I like the feel of it. Rapid fires are in a pretty good spot for PvP. Obviously, their TTK isn't anything like to sing home about, but with this gun, you can get the role keep away kill clip to me. And I feel like with keep away kill clip, you can absolutely melt through people, and you don't need much else on this gun. You know, you could go for an arrowhead, obviously, to get that crispy recoil direction. But to me, you really want to go with corkscrew for a little bit more stability, because the stability is, you know, somewhat low. And you're going to want to go with ricochet, of course. And this gun overall, you know, I've used it, and I've, you know, went into lobbies running gun with it. And, you know, if you're running around and gunning with this thing, and then you've got disaster plan procced with keep away, where it's like your accuracy, cone growth, the range, the reload speed, combined with, you know, that you'll get kill clip procced around the same time, you can enter your next duel and just absolutely beam somebody, catch somebody off guard, and they are a goner, obviously. And, you know, not even 3 full bursts, you know, type of thing. And just throw on your range, your stability, maybe your handling with this thing. But overall, I think that Outlast is a great weapon. And, you know, even if you don't get keep away kill clip, I had an encore kill clip that was, you know, pretty good, that you get, you know, you get accuracy, you know, the accuracy goes up each time you get a kill. Doesn't even have to be a precision, but you can also, for PvE, I think that, you know, the PvE role that you would want to be going for is stats for all Dragonfly, because when you kill with Dragonfly and it hits the other, you know, guys around the other combatants around your kill target, you're going to get stats for all procced, and then you're going to get this stat padded machine that you're going to keep on reloading, and you're going to be able to keep on shooting with. So overall, you know, if you don't have a gun to use, I guess, kind of some solar explosions with, you know, you could grab this gun. And like I said, you go into the helm, you go to your sonar station over off to the left, and you're able to focus these for 4 Ingrams Eclipse and, you know, 3000 Glimmer. So overall, it's not hard to focus these. I personally have all the roles that I want for them. I would leave Soul Survivor alone. I don't think it's in a frame that's really good for DPS, and it also doesn't really have a, you know, the snapshot opening shot, you know, roll for it. And there's just better. And I mean, you could go for Mercurial Overreach for PvP, and just in case, just doesn't have, you know, the rolls that you want on a sword. So that does it for this video. If you guys liked it, if you know, want to comment, and if you want to see one of these guns in action, I may be doing some videos where I'm like, get this gun before final shape, because more than likely, since these were reprised guns with updated perk pools, these are going to go away, and you are not going to be able to get them on after June 4th. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and if you want, you can look up here. This is where I stream on Twitch, and it would be cool if you came and hang sometimes. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.